Father Hidalgo declared independence for Mexico in 1810, the people carried her image, just like in the 1960s and 70s when Cesar Chavez went on his marches, they carried her image. You know, to be Mexicana or Mexicano really is to have a relationship with Guadalupe, whether you're Catholic or not.
Aquí en México, no se puede, pero aquí también tiene mucha tradición ella, o sea, también aquí tiene mucha fe en la Virgen de Guadalupe. Somos muchos guadalupanos.
Todos los mexicanos somos de ella, todos.
The historic origins of the Virgen de Guadalupe are quite fascinating. She is seen as a representation of the Virgin Mary, but a version for Mexican people, for Latin America, if you will. There was an Aztec goddess by name of Tonantzin who was known as the mother goddess. Historically, we can look at the Virgen de Guadalupe as like an adaptation, if you will, of the Aztec goddess, the Aztec mother goddess. And it also served as a way of the Spanish to help colonize the indigenous peoples into converting into Christianity. It made it a little bit easier for them to accept her as the Christian mother of God, especially having those similarities to Tonantzin. Religiously, the myth was that she appeared to this Nahua man, Juan Diego, and she proclaimed that she wanted essentially a place of worship built in her honor. And he went and told this story to the priests, the bishops, who did not believe him. He was just a indigenous man. He was just a native, so they didn't really give him a lot of power or credibility. So he asked for her to perform a miracle for him to be believed. And so she told him to gather roses. And he was sort of taken aback because roses were not native to the region. They wouldn't be in season at that time. This was in December. And so once he collected all the roses and took them to the bishop, he opened up his cloak, and on the cloak was imprinted the image that we now know to be the Virgen de Guadalupe.
For the Borderlands, what I think the Virgen means and honoring her has to do with keeping hope alive in the midst of so much suffering. You see the border villainized. You see so much law enforcement. You see desperate people trying to get to the United States. We're a very poor community, but there's a lot of beauty and a lot of creativity. You go to El Segundo, you go to Central, you go to the Lower Valley, you'll always find murals of the Virgen de Guadalupe because she's such a symbol to us. But just like a mother pregnant with her child, we look to the future.
Cuando me mataron a mi hijo, yo me puse muy mal. Yo en ese momento sí aclamé a mi Virgencita y le dije, ay, Madrecita, ya ahora sé lo que tú sentiste y tú sabías desde tu vientre a que venía nuestro Señor Jesucristo, que es nuestro Salvador. Tú sabías a que Él venía y tú te lo callaste. Y yo quiero ser como tú, Madrecita, aguantar este dolor. Ayúdame, yo le suplicaba a ella y aquí estoy todavía.
My biological mother was born on December 10th and was named Guadalupe. And she gave me to my great aunt, and so I was adopted. You know, I would question, how can a mother give up her baby? So then in my 40s, still carrying that anger, I went to a private chapel where someone had just installed a stained glass window of the Virgen de Guadalupe, and I took her flowers, and I remember I was standing there looking at her, and I heard a voice, and the voice said, forgive me. And I knew that it was Guadalupe, my mother. And from that moment on, like, I loved my biological mother, and I didn't have that hatred and that resentment and that questioning anymore. And so to me, that was a very intense healing experience brought on by looking at the image of the Virgen de Guadalupe.
Unique statues and altars in front of homes, I think, are all different ways that we celebrate her as a people, and I think that's something that's really unique and beautiful about our city. It doesn't necessarily have to be a grand parade or a big event.
Vamos a las funerarias cuando nos invitan que no hay quien rece el rosario. Como grupo vamos y rezamos el Santo Rosario. Y ya el día 12 de diciembre, pues ya empezamos con su novenario. Al final de los 9 días, que son 9 días, 9 rosarios más su novena. Entonces ya de ahí implica la Santa Misa de Gallo, que es el día 11 de diciembre a las 11 de la noche para terminar con sus mañanitas, con su mariachi que le traemos también.
On December the 12th, of course, there are masses dedicated to her. And the thing that I have always loved the most is the matachines, who are the dancers associated with the Catholic Church. Same thing that happened with enslaved people who were brought from Africa to the colonial United States. In both places, the drum was outlawed. The dances were outlawed. So one of the ways that the dances and also the rhythm, the beats, were kept alive was through the creation of matachines who were dedicated to the Virgen de Guadalupe.
We're very proud of our roots, and so I think the Virgen de Guadalupe symbolizing, right, where we came from, symbolizing our indigenous roots, symbolizing our ancestry in Mexico, and that spirit of not being defeated and our spirit of resistance. I think that's why she's been such a lasting icon for us here on the border, because she's a reminder of who we are, where we came from.